Sometimes the thing that will ultimately take your life isn't what the doctors are specifically trained, and therefore paid, to be looking for. A team of 20 highly skilled doctors simply couldn't save the billionaire, Victor Blackwell. Ironically, it was the woman who mopped the floors of that very hospital who spotted what they had all missed. Victor Blackwell's health continued to decline rapidly while he was in his $4 million hospital suite. The machines that monitored his vitals beeped incessantly. Specialists frowned, looking perplexed. Death was quickly approaching, even with some of the world's finest medical minds carefully puzzling over his incredibly complex case. Angela Beaumont quietly slipped into the room, as invisible as she always felt. Working the night shift meant there were fewer eyes to see right through her. She inhaled deeply, smelling antiseptic, cologne, and something else entirely. Something distinctly metallic. Wrong. Her chemistry-trained mind jolted with instant recognition. She froze in place. The distinct yellowing of his fingernails, the very particular pattern of hair loss, and the subtle discoloration at his gums were all telltale signs. Her heart began to race. The answer crystallized in her mind, as clear as laboratory glass. She knew exactly what poison was slowly killing him. But who in their right mind would listen to a housekeeper when a team of 20 highly specialized doctors had already failed? Johns Hopkins Medical Center housed a very dark secret. The ultra-luxury wing was where extreme wealth purchased complete privacy. Victor Blackwell's suite was very much like a five-star hotel, with all of the medical equipment carefully disguised by mahogany panels and ambient lighting. The tech billionaire had paid an exorbitant amount for total exclusivity, demanding that America's top diagnostic minds come together to solve the mystery behind his sudden decline. Angela methodically dusted the room's many expensive surfaces. At the age of 38, her movements were efficient and economical, habits she had formed out of sheer necessity. A single mother, a night shift worker, and completely invisible to those around her. Yet, her keen eyes missed absolutely nothing, constantly categorizing symptoms and analyzing patterns that all of the doctors had seemingly overlooked. 10 feet away, Dr. Thaddeus Reynolds addressed his highly esteemed team of specialists. Silver-haired, Harvard-educated, with a commanding voice that never needed to be raised in order to command complete attention. Gentlemen, we've exhausted all of the conventional pathways. Mr. Blackwell's symptoms simply defy standard diagnosis. His liver function continues to rapidly deteriorate, and his neurological symptoms are continuing to worsen. We must seriously consider more exotic approaches to this case. Angela kept her head down, but made sure to keep her ears open. She'd learned this very valuable skill back in college, absorbing lectures while simultaneously taking meticulous notes, before life circumstances had cruelly intervened. 15 years earlier, Angela had been the chemistry department's brightest star, a scholarship student on track for some very promising medical research. Then, her parents' tragic accident had left her 3 younger siblings in desperate need of support. She was forced to withdraw mid-semester, while promising herself that she would return. She never did. The cleaning staff needs to finish quickly, Dr. Reynolds announced, pointedly noticing Angela. His words dismissed her without even directly addressing her. We have extremely important matters to discuss. Angela simply nodded, keeping her face neutral, despite feeling the familiar sting. They saw her uniform, and absolutely nothing more. They certainly didn't see the brilliant mind that was hiding behind it. She'd maintained her burning passion for chemistry through library books, online lectures, and scientific journals, which she would read during her very short lunch breaks, gaining invaluable knowledge without any of the proper credentials. As she wiped down surfaces, Angela's eyes caught a glimpse of Blackwell's chart, the puzzling symptoms, the peripheral neuropathy, the alopecia, and digestive issues, all classic presentations that were all being incorrectly attributed to separate conditions. Dr. Reynolds swept past, brushing her aside without even acknowledging her presence. Angela stepped back, becoming part of the wall, simply blending into the background furniture. Dr. Reynolds walks past me every day like I'm just part of the furniture, she thought to herself. That's exactly why he never notices what I see. Her gaze shifted to Blackwell's personal items, expensive grooming products, arranged neatly on the bathroom counter. The hand cream, in particular, was imported and exclusive. She noted that its position had changed slightly since yesterday. Someone had moved it. Angela filed that observation away in her mind. In chemistry, small inconsistencies often revealed the true answer. The suite door suddenly opened as a well-dressed man entered. Jefferson Burke, according to the visitor badge clipped to his expertly tailored suit. Angela instantly recognized him from various business magazines. Blackwell's former rival, now acting as a supportive friend during his illness. "Victor's resting," Dr. Reynolds informed him. "Unfortunately, his condition hasn't improved." "I brought his favorite hand cream," Burke replied, carefully placing an elegant black jar on the nightstand. "It's imported from Switzerland. It's a small comfort, but he insists that it's the only brand that doesn't irritate his sensitive skin." Angela noted how Burke positioned the jar prominently, ensuring that it would be used. Something in his careful placement triggered her analytical mind. It was too deliberate, too insistent. Later, as she cleaned an adjacent room, Angela overheard two residents discussing Blackwell's incredibly complex case. "The strangest symptom progression I've ever seen," the first one said. "It's like he has multiple conditions simultaneously." "Reynolds thinks it's an autoimmune cascade," replied the second. "But the tests keep coming back inconsistent." Meanwhile, the richest man in all of tech circles continues to get weaker while we chase various theories. Angela paused, connecting all of the fragments in her mind. The symptoms, the mysterious decline, and the expensive hand cream that appeared so regularly. A hypothesis was forming, but she needed to conduct more observations. That night, she adjusted her cleaning schedule to include Blackwell's room during his normal sleeping hours. She carefully studied his chart updates, noting the new symptoms that further confirmed her growing suspicions. The pattern was becoming unmistakable to someone with her specific knowledge. As her shift finally ended, Angela stared intently at her reflection in the employee bathroom mirror. The uniform, practical and forgettable, and the face, tired but still sharp with intelligence. The invisible barrier that existed between her world and theirs. "They don't see me," she whispered to herself, "but I see absolutely everything." Alarms suddenly erupted at exactly 2:17 a.m. Angela heard the code blue announcement while she was cleaning the adjacent room. Doctors rushed past her in a frenzy. Victor Blackwell's condition had suddenly deteriorated rapidly. She paused her work, her heart racing in her chest. Through the partially open door, she watched the emergency unfold. Liver enzymes are critical, kidney function is dropping, and neurological responses are diminished. A resident reported, his voice tight with palpable tension. Dr. Reynolds strode in immediately, taking complete command of the situation. "Full toxicology panel again. Something is definitely causing this cascade failure." Angela edged closer, drawn by both genuine concern and pure scientific curiosity. The entire medical team worked frantically. The monitors were beeping faster and faster, and nurses were rushing around with medications. "Could it be environmental?" suggested Dr. Park, a younger physician. "Something in his food, water, or even his personal products?" Dr. Reynolds quickly dismissed this with a cutting glance. "We've tested everything in this room twice already. Focus on medical possibilities and not amateur detective work." Dr. Park visibly shrank back. The team continued their urgent intervention, temporarily stabilizing Blackwell. As the crisis subsided and the doctors dispersed for further consultations, Angela quietly slipped back into the room. She quickly checked his chart, memorizing all of the new symptoms. Then her eyes returned to the bathroom counter. The hand cream, something about its metallic sheen on Blackwell's nightstand triggered a very distinct memory from her university days. A specific lecture on heavy metal poisoning. Angela moved closer, carefully examining Blackwell's fingernails. The discoloration pattern was subtle, but distinctive. The very particular quality of his hair loss, and the reported abdominal pain. She inhaled sharply. The symptoms matched thallium poisoning exactly, as it had been described in her toxicology textbook. Could a team of 20 specialists have completely missed something so classically presented? Angela hesitated for a moment, then approached Sarah, a night nurse she'd built a friendly rapport with. "Excuse me," Angela said quietly. "Has anyone checked Mr. Blackwell for thallium poisoning? His symptoms match exactly." Sarah's expression immediately shifted from friendly to dismissive. "Angela, I know you mean well, but please, these are the country's top specialists. But the pattern of—" "If you're done eavesdropping, the bathroom needs cleaning," Sarah interrupted, her voice cooling rapidly. "Leave the medicine to the doctors." Angela stepped back, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She returned to her cleaning cart, feeling the familiar weight of dismissal settling on her shoulders, but her certainty had crystallized in her mind. She knew what was killing Victor Blackwell. The question was, would she risk her job in order to make someone actually listen? As she wheeled her cart down the long corridor, Angela's thoughts raced through a myriad of possibilities. The symptoms aligned perfectly with her ever-strengthening hypothesis. The progressive neurological issues, the digestive problems, and the very distinctive pattern of hair loss. In her undergraduate toxicology course, thallium poisoning had been presented as the perfect poisoner's tool, difficult to detect unless specifically sought. She completed her shift mechanically, her mind completely focused on Blackwell's rapidly declining condition. At home, she pulled an old textbook from her small, but very treasured collection, salvaged from her university days. The chapter on heavy metal poisoning completely confirmed her already growing suspicions. Thallium, colorless and odorless, is easily absorbed through simple skin contact, causing widespread systemic damage while simultaneously mimicking numerous other conditions. The next morning, Angela arrived extra early, determined to find a way to make someone actually listen to her. She watched carefully as Jefferson Burke visited again, bringing yet another jar of the exclusive hand cream. The routine was always exactly the same. He would insist that it was the only brand that Blackwell would use, and personally applying some to show its supposed quality. A perfect delivery system for a slow, deliberate poisoning. Angela carefully weighed her options. Direct confrontation would simply be dismissed immediately. What she needed was solid evidence. Irrefutable proof that even Dr. Reynolds couldn't possibly ignore. She finally made her decision. Victor Blackwell was rapidly running out of time. Victor Blackwell deteriorated by the hour. Angela checked his status through hushed conversations between the nurses and through quick glimpses of the updated charts. Time was definitely running out. During her short break, Angela used the hospital's public computer to confirm her suspicion. The symptoms aligned perfectly with thallium poisoning. The very specific pattern of hair loss, the peripheral neuropathy progressing steadily upward, and the distinctive gastrointestinal issues. But how exactly was it entering his system, and why hadn't it already been detected? She quickly scribbled a note on hospital stationery. Asterisk check for thallium poisoning. Classic presentation star. She then left it on Dr. Reynolds's clipboard while she was cleaning his office. The next morning, she arrived even earlier, positioning herself strategically near the doctor's meeting room. Through the partially open door, she clearly heard Dr. Reynolds's voice. "And apparently," he said with audible derision, "our cleaning staff has diagnostic opinions now." Laughter rippled through the entire room. Someone left an anonymous note suggesting thallium poisoning. "We tested for heavy metals in the initial workup," another doctor responded. "Exactly. Standard procedure," Reynolds quickly dismissed. "The cleaning staff is playing detective now. Next, they'll be performing surgery." Angela's chest tightened with anger. Her hands gripped her cleaning cart until her knuckles whitened. The dismissal stung deeply, but the patient's life mattered far more than her own personal pride. She formulated a completely new approach. Dr. Park, the younger physician, seemed far more approachable. During her afternoon shift, Angela timed her cleaning to intercept him. "Excuse me, Dr. Chen?" she began, her voice steady, despite her heart racing in her chest. "About Mr. Blackwell, I strongly believe that he's suffering from thallium poisoning. The symptoms match perfectly." Dr. Chen's expression shifted quickly from surprise to discomfort. That's certainly an interesting theory, but we've already tested for heavy metals. Standard tests might miss it if it's being administered consistently in small doses, Angela pressed, especially through his hand cream. I appreciate your concern, he interrupted, checking his watch. But I need to be somewhere. Perhaps just mention it to the nursing staff. He then walked away quickly. Angela stood completely alone in the hallway, once more completely invisible. Later that evening, the head of security approached her while she was cleaning. Miss Beaumont, we've had reports of you interfering with medical matters. This is a warning. Know your boundaries or there will be serious consequences. Angela simply nodded, her throat tight. She needed solid evidence, irrefutable proof that even Dr. Reynolds couldn't dismiss. But gathering that evidence meant crossing lines that could easily cost her job, the only source of income her family depended on. That night, alone in the employee break room, Angela finally made her decision. Victor Blackwell perhaps only had days left to live. Her job security simply couldn't outweigh a human life. She formulated a plan, drawing on chemistry knowledge that had laid dormant for years, but had never truly disappeared. She would need cleaning supplies, access to the lab, and perfect timing. Tomorrow, she would force them to see what they'd all missed or lose absolutely everything trying. Jefferson Burke visited again that afternoon, staying for only 15 minutes, but ensuring that the hand cream was prominently placed. Angela observed him carefully from the hallway, noting how he encouraged the day nurse to apply it to Blackwell's hands and arms for comfort. After Burke left, Angela performed her routine cleaning in Blackwell's bathroom, carefully studying the hand cream's container. The expensive packaging revealed absolutely nothing suspicious, but the product itself had a faint metallic sheen when examined very closely. She needed a sample, but taking it openly would immediately trigger suspicion. Instead, she waited until the nursing shift change when Blackwell's room was momentarily unattended. With practiced efficiency, Angela transferred a very small amount of the cream into a sterile specimen container that she'd secretly acquired from the supply room. The sample disappeared quickly into her uniform pocket. That evening, Angela picked up her children from her neighbor's apartment. 12-year-old Marcus and 14-year-old Tasha had both grown accustomed to her constant exhaustion, to homework completed without any maternal oversight, and to meals prepared by teenage hands when her shifts ran long. "Mom, are you okay?" Tasha asked, noting Angela's obvious distraction. "Just a complicated situation at work," Angela replied, forcing a smile. "Nothing for you to worry about." After the children were asleep, Angela spread her materials across the kitchen table. Her old toxicology textbook, printouts from medical journals, and notes on Blackwell's symptoms. The pattern was undeniable to her trained eyes. Why couldn't 20 specialists see it? Because they simply weren't looking for it. Because thallium poisoning was extremely rare, almost archaic, a throwback to old spy novels. Because they'd run standard panels that would most likely miss any gradual exposure. Because no one ever expected a billionaire to be slowly poisoned by a trusted friend. And because no one ever listened to housekeepers. Angela stared at her cleaning uniform hanging on the door, the physical embodiment of her complete invisibility. Tomorrow, she would risk absolutely everything to pierce that invisibility, and to force them to see both the poison and the person who'd identified it. Angela arrived early for her shift, carrying a small bag alongside her usual supplies. Inside, she had baking soda, aluminum foil, and small containers borrowed from the cafeteria. Innocent items that, when combined with standard cleaning solutions, could create a rudimentary but still effective test for thallium. Her first task was to collect evidence. During the morning rounds, Angela timed her cleaning to overhear Blackwell's latest symptoms. The progression matched thallium poisoning perfectly, worsening neuropathy that was now affecting his speech, a very distinctive hair loss pattern, and rapid deterioration despite supportive care. She carefully collected a tiny sample of the hand cream while cleaning Blackwell's bathroom. The expensive product had a faint metallic sheen when rubbed between her fingers, subtle but detectable to her trained senses. In a maintenance closet, Angela worked quickly, mixing solutions with practiced precision. The makeshift chemistry setup looked nothing like any of the sophisticated hospital equipment, Yet, the principles all remained sound. She'd performed similar tests in university labs, earning top marks for accuracy, with extremely minimal resources. The test completely confirmed her suspicion. Positive for thallium. She then photographed the results with her cell phone. Next, Angela reviewed Blackwell's visitor log, noting a very distinct pattern. Jefferson Burke, business rival turned supportive friend, visited regularly, always bringing the same exclusive hand cream as a gift. The timing matched the steady escalation of symptoms. At 2 p.m. Angela learned of an emergency conference in Blackwell's suite. All of the specialists would be attending, as his condition had become extremely critical. This was perfect timing. She quickly changed into her freshly laundered uniform, straightened her badge, and gathered all of her evidence. Test results, visitor logs, symptom timeline, and research printouts. Angela rehearsed her explanation mentally, drawing on knowledge from toxicology textbooks she had memorized years ago. The doctors gathered in Blackwell's suite, the tension evident in their postures. Dr. Reynolds stood at the center, presenting the latest failed interventions. Angela knocked once, and then entered without waiting for permission. 20 pairs of eyes immediately turned toward her. Dr. Reynolds's expression shifted from surprise to utter irritation. "This is a closed medical conference. Please come back. Mr. Blackwell is dying of thallium poisoning," Angela stated clearly, her voice steadier than her rapidly beating heart. "And I can prove it." Dr. Reynolds's face hardened. "Security," he began. "The symptoms match perfectly," Angela continued, stepping forward and placing her evidence on the table. "Progressive ascending peripheral neuropathy, distinctive ellipsia, abdominal pain, cognitive decline, and classical presentation." She then pointed to her test results. "I confirmed thallium presence in his hand cream, the imported Chamberlain brand he uses daily. Absorption through his skin, slow poisoning over months." "This is absurd," Dr. Reynolds snapped. "You're a housekeeper, not a physician. I was a chemistry honors student at Johns Hopkins before personal circumstances intervened," Angela responded, maintaining steady eye contact. "The poison is being introduced through the hand cream brought by Jefferson Burke during his regular visits. The timeline matches symptom progression perfectly." She carefully laid out her evidence methodically, pointing to the visitor logs and the symptom progression charts. Her explanation was precise and scientific, drawing on toxicology knowledge that had remained extremely sharp despite years away from academia. Standard heavy metal panels might miss it because the poisoning is gradual, maintaining levels just below typical detection thresholds, she explained. But the cumulative effects are textbook. Complete silence fell over the room. Dr. Reynolds opened his mouth to object, then closed it, examining her evidence even more closely. Dr. Park, the young physician who'd been dismissed earlier, leaned forward. "This actually makes perfect sense with the symptom progression. The tests we ran might indeed miss gradual exposure." Another specialist nodded slowly. "The hair loss pattern and the neuropathy presentation are consistent with thallium toxicity." The silence deepened as the 20 specialists confronted what they had missed, and exactly who had found it. "It's thallium poisoning," Angela concluded quietly. "The symptoms are textbook if you simply know what to look for." Angela stood firm as the doctors exchanged glances, her heart pounding beneath her composed exterior. The maintenance closet chemistry had been a total gamble, crude by normal laboratory standards, but based on sound principles. The precipitate formation had confirmed thallium's very distinctive reaction pattern. "How exactly did you test for this?" asked Dr. Winters, the toxicology specialist. "Sodium rhodocyanate reaction," Angela replied without any hesitation. "Modified for field testing with limited resources. The color change is unmistakable when thallium ions are present." Dr. Winters raised an eyebrow, impressed despite himself. "That's an advanced technique that's rarely used outside of specialized labs. It was covered in advanced toxicology methods, second-year chemistry special topics," Angela responded. "Professor Harrison's course." Recognition flickered across several faces. Harrison was a Johns Hopkins legend. You were his student? Dr. Park asked. For one semester, Angela answered, the old regret briefly visible. Before I had to withdraw. Dr. Reynolds examined her improvised test results with grudging attention. His expertise couldn't deny the evidence that was laid out before him, however unorthodox its source. The concentration pattern suggests deliberate, sustained exposure. Angela continued, pointing to her timeline. Each application delivers a sublethal dose that accumulates in tissues. The symptoms escalate in perfect correlation with Burke's visits. The specialists began asking technical questions, which Angela answered with precise scientific terminology. With each response, her invisibility slowly diminished. They were finally seeing her now. Not her uniform, but her brilliant mind. Dr. Park pulled up Blackwell's latest labs on a tablet. If we specifically test for thallium rather than running a standard panel, you'll find elevated levels, Angela finished, particularly in hair samples from the past 3 months, which will show the entire poisoning timeline. The room's energy had completely transformed. The dismissive barrier had finally cracked. Knowledge had proven to be far more powerful than hierarchy. Run a focused thallium test immediately, Dr. Park ordered, breaking the stunned silence. 2 specialists rushed to comply, taking samples of the hand cream and preparing blood draws. Dr. Reynolds remained frozen, staring at Angela's methodical evidence. His expression cycled through disbelief, realization, and reluctant acknowledgement. If you're correct, he finally said, his voice strained. We've been poisoning him further with our treatments for other conditions. The chelation therapy for suspected mercury would be completely ineffective for thallium, Angela confirmed. He needs Prussian blue immediately to bind the poison. The specialists exchanged glances, medical minds recalibrating. A nurse returned breathless minutes later. Rush toxicology confirms thallium at significant levels, she announced. The room erupted in controlled chaos. Orders flew. Treatment protocols shifted. Security was immediately contacted regarding Jefferson Burke. The security footage, Angela suggested. Check when Burke delivered the hand cream. He likely applied some himself to establish trust in the product. Dr. Park nodded. Already requested. But how did you? The pattern was clear once I looked for it, Angela explained. Mr. Burke always brought the exact same gift. Mr. Blackwell's condition always worsened afterward. The hospital security officer then entered. We've reviewed the footage. Burke manipulated the cream when he was alone in the room. We've contacted the FBI. Prussian blue treatment was immediately administered. Additional blood work confirmed Angela's diagnosis completely. The room's energy transformed from desperate resignation to focused hope. 3 hours later, Victor Blackwell's vital signs finally stabilized for the first time in weeks. Angela stood quietly by the wall, her presence momentarily forgotten in the medical flurry. Dr. Reynolds approached her, his tall frame seeming far less imposing now. Your intervention was... He paused, visibly struggling. Correct? Completely correct. Angela simply nodded, maintaining professional composure despite the validation flooding through her. How did you see what 20 specialists missed? He asked, genuine confusion evident in his voice. I'm invisible, Angela replied simply. I observe without being observed. I see patterns without any preconceptions, and I never forgot my training, even when life took me far away from it. Dr. Reynolds nodded slowly. I owe you a sincere apology. We all do. Before he could continue, the monitors indicated that Blackwell was regaining consciousness. The room hushed as the billionaire's eyes opened for the first time in days. What? Blackwell whispered hoarsely. What happened? Dr. Reynolds stood at his bedside. A critical moment of choice played across his face. Should he claim the credit or acknowledge the actual truth? He straightened his shoulders. You were being poisoned with thallium, Mr. Blackwell. We all missed it. He then turned toward Angela. This is Angela Beaumont. She solved what 20 specialists couldn't. Complete silence filled the room. Every eye turned to the housekeeper. Blackwell's weak gaze found her. "Thank you," he whispered, "for seeing what they missed." The silence broke as Dr. Park began to applaud. Others soon joined in, until the sound filled the entire room. Acknowledgement impossible to dismiss. Angela stood taller, her expertise finally visible. The invisible barrier between medical staff and support personnel had cracked irreparably. "Sometimes the most valuable knowledge isn't framed on a wall," she said quietly. The momentary triumph was interrupted as FBI agents arrived, professional and focused. They spoke briefly with hospital security, and then requested statements from key personnel, including Angela. "We need to understand exactly how you identified the poisoning," Agent Ramirez explained, treating her with the exact same deference afforded the specialists. "I recognized the symptom pattern from toxicology training," Angela explained, then confirmed it through simple chemical testing. "And your background is in chemistry?" "Incomplete degree. I was forced to withdraw for family reasons." The agent nodded, impressed rather than dismissive. "Your observation may have saved Mr. Blackwell's life, and has provided crucial evidence for prosecution." As the investigation intensified, medical staff continued administering the antidote therapy. Angela watched as Blackwell's vital signs strengthened hour by hour on the monitor, tangible proof of her diagnosis. Dr. Park approached, offering her a chair. "You should sit. You've been standing since this began." The simple courtesy, offering a seat to someone usually expected to remain standing and unobtrusive, symbolized the shifting dynamics. Angela accepted with a quiet, "Thank you." "Your chemistry background. What was your focus?" Dr. Park asked. "Toxicology and organic analysis," Angela replied. "I was researching detection methods for environmental contaminants." "You would have made an exceptional diagnostician," he observed. "Life had other plans," she responded without self-pity. As evening approached, Angela prepared to complete her regular duties. Dr. Reynolds intercepted her near the supply closet. "Miss Beaumont," he began awkwardly, "hospital administration has been informed of your contribution. They've authorized paid administrative leave while you assist with the investigation." The subtext was crystal clear. They couldn't have someone who had demonstrated such expertise returning immediately to cleaning floors. The status quo had been irreparably disrupted. Angela nodded, understanding the complex recalibration occurring within the hospital hierarchy. "I'll finish my current duties first." Dr. Reynolds looked startled, then nodded with newfound respect. As she completed her shift, Angela noticed the changed atmosphere. The nods of acknowledgement from doctors who had previously looked right through her, and the congratulatory smiles from the nursing staff. Her invisibility had been permanently shattered. When she finally left the hospital that evening, Angela paused in the parking lot, looking up at the illuminated windows of Blackwell's suite. Inside, the billionaire was recovering, all thanks to her crucial intervention. The thought brought not pride, but simple satisfaction. The clean resolution of a very complex problem. The simple rightness of truth revealed. FBI agents arrived within the hour, their presence transforming the hospital wing into an investigation scene. Angela sat in a small conference room recounting her observations and conclusions to intent federal agents who treated her words with professional respect. "You identified the poison, the delivery method, and," the Agent Martinez clarified, visibly impressed. "I combined observation with chemical testing and my background knowledge," Angela explained modestly. "The pattern became clear once I knew what to look for." "You potentially saved a life and caught a would-be murderer," the agent noted, a hint of awe in his voice. "Jefferson Burke is in custody. Initial questioning suggests corporate espionage. A gradual poisoning to force Blackwell to step down before a major merger." When the interview concluded, Angela stepped into the hallway, immediately sensing a subtle but significant shift in the hospital's atmosphere. Nurses who had previously glanced right through her now nodded in acknowledgement, offering small, almost hesitant smiles. Doctors who had never made eye contact before now looked her directly in the eye, a hint of respect in their gazes. Dr. Park approached with a steaming cup. "I brought you this. You've been answering questions for hours. Thank you, Angela accepted, the simple courtesy feeling monumental, laden with unspoken meaning. Later, Dr. Reynolds intercepted her as she prepared to resume her duties. His demeanor had undergone a striking transformation, the previously assured confidence replaced by an uncomfortable self-awareness, a flicker of humility in his eyes. Miss Beaumont, he began stiffly. I want to apologize for dismissing your concerns. His apology was minimal, awkward, the carefully chosen words of someone unaccustomed to admitting error, of having their expertise challenged. Angela simply nodded. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Your knowledge saved his life when our expertise failed, he acknowledged, struggling visibly with his pride, with the admission that someone he'd dismissed had succeeded where he hadn't. We all have different perspectives, Angela replied calmly. Sometimes the answer is visible only from certain angles. He nodded curtly and walked away, his status diminished, the image of infallibility slightly tarnished, but his professional identity, his core competence, remained intact. As Angela pushed her cleaning cart through the hospital corridors, whispers followed her like a gentle breeze. That's her. The housekeeper who outsmarted 20 doctors. The story had spread through the hospital departments with lightning speed, amplified and embellished with each retelling. She worked her shift with the same quiet efficiency as always, meticulously cleaning and sanitizing, but her invisible shield had dissolved completely. People saw her now, not just her uniform or her assigned function, but her mind, her capability, her inherent worth beyond the limitations of her prescribed role. The rigid hospital hierarchy remained, but Angela now moved through it differently, walking with the newfound confidence of someone whose true value had been witnessed, validated, and could never again be unseen, ignored, or dismissed. Over the following days, the hospital administration found itself struggling to categorize Angela's unique situation, unsure how to reconcile her actions with established protocols and perceptions. Her job title officially remained Environmental Services Technician, a bland and inadequate description of her contributions. Yet, she was repeatedly consulted on Blackwell's recovery and the ongoing investigation, her insights proving invaluable. At home, Angela carefully explained the situation to her children, choosing her words with precision and care. So, you solved a mystery the doctors couldn't? Marcus asked, his eyes wide with wonder and admiration. I noticed something they overlooked, Angela corrected gently, wanting to instill humility. Sometimes being in a different position lets you see things others miss, things that might be obscured from a different vantage point. Tasha, more perceptive and mature at 14, recognized the deeper implications of the situation, the potential for lasting change and newfound respect. Will things change now, Mom? Will they respect you more? Angela considered the question carefully, weighing the complexities of human nature and institutional inertia. Respect isn't something given permanently. It's earned and maintained through consistent action and integrity. But yes, something has definitely shifted. The media, always eager for a sensational story, caught wind of the improbable tale. Housekeeper solves medical mystery, saves billionaire. Headlines blared, but hospital security, under strict instructions, kept reporters at bay, protecting Angela from unwanted attention. Angela was deeply grateful for the shielding. Public attention wasn't her goal. She had no desire for fleeting fame. A week after her crucial diagnosis, Angela was summoned to the administrative offices, a formal request that hinted at significant developments. The hospital's chief of medicine, Dr. Eleanor Matthews, greeted her with newfound collegiality, a warm and welcoming smile replacing the previous professional distance. Miss Beaumont, your actions have placed this institution in an unusual position, one that requires careful consideration. Dr. Matthews began diplomatically. You demonstrated exceptional medical knowledge and critical thinking skills while working in a non-medical capacity. Angela waited patiently, sensing the administration's delicate dilemma, the precarious balance between recognition and disruption. Her extraordinary achievement couldn't be ignored or minimized. Yet, fully acknowledging it would inevitably challenge established hierarchies, potentially upsetting the carefully constructed power dynamics within the hospital. The board has authorized a commendation and a substantial bonus, a tangible expression of our gratitude. Matthews continued, her tone carefully modulated. And we'd also like to discuss potential opportunities that might better utilize your scientific background, leveraging your talents for the benefit of the hospital. The offer was carefully calibrated, designed to offer recognition without fundamental disruption, to provide opportunity without fully admitting to the systematic oversight that had previously overlooked Angela's potential. I appreciate that very much, Angela replied evenly, her voice betraying no hint of resentment or bitterness. I've always valued learning and intellectual growth, even when circumstances prevented formal education from realizing those ambitions. Dr. Matthews nodded, visibly relieved by Angela's measured and accepting response. Mr. Blackwell has also expressed a strong interest in speaking with you personally once he's sufficiently recovered. He wants to express his gratitude directly. Angela returned to her routine duties, aware that while her immediate status within the hospital had undeniably changed, systemic barriers and deeply ingrained prejudices likely remained, subtle but persistent. The gap between potential and opportunity couldn't be completely bridged by a single moment of brilliance, no matter how extraordinary. Yet something fundamental had shifted both in how she moved through the world and, perhaps more importantly, in how the world perceived her, recognized her inherent value. 1 month later, Angela received a formal message that seemed almost surreal, plucked from the realm of fantasy. Victor Blackwell himself requested her presence in his downtown office, a summons that hinted at possibilities beyond her wildest dreams. She meticulously arranged time off from her demanding schedule, dressed in her best non-uniform clothes, carefully chosen to project an air of quiet professionalism, and entered the gleaming skyscraper that housed Blackwell Innovations, a symbol of wealth and power. Unlike the impersonal atmosphere of the hospital, where she had often navigated the corridors almost invisibly, blending into the background, here she was escorted with deference and genuine respect, treated as a person of importance. The executive floor revealed a fully recovered Blackwell, noticeably thinner and slightly paler, but very much alive and radiating an unmistakable aura of power and gratitude. Miss Beaumont, he greeted her warmly, rising from behind his massive desk to shake her hand. Please sit down. I've been wanting to thank you properly, in person, ever since I regained full consciousness and realized the depth of your contribution. Angela sat down, acutely aware of the almost comical role reversal, the dramatic shift in power dynamics. The man whose hospital room she had meticulously cleaned, emptying bedpans and scrubbing floors, now offered her a comfortable chair in his personal domain, a symbol of his wealth and influence. I'm very glad you're recovering so well, she responded simply, choosing her words carefully, trying to maintain a sense of equilibrium. Recovering is a vast understatement. I'm alive, Miss Beaumont, because you saw what others missed, because you possessed the insight and the courage to speak up when no one else did. Blackwell studied her intently, his gaze penetrating and insightful. Dr. Reynolds explained your background to me. Chemistry prodigy, scholarship student, education tragically interrupted by family circumstances. A life put on hold by misfortune. Angela nodded, slightly surprised at how thoroughly her personal history had been investigated, how deeply Blackwell had delved into her past. Intelligence shouldn't be wasted, Miss Beaumont, Blackwell continued, his voice firm with conviction. I've established a foundation dedicated to supporting brilliant minds facing financial barriers, providing opportunities to those who have been unfairly held back by circumstance. You are the inspiration for this foundation, and you will be its first recipient. He slid a thick folder across the polished desk, its weight suggesting the magnitude of the opportunity it contained. Inside was the comprehensive documentation for a full scholarship to complete her chemistry degree, all expenses paid, including a generous living stipend to cover her family's needs. Upon graduation, she was guaranteed a prestigious placement in Johns Hopkins' renowned toxicology department, setting her on the path to a fulfilling and impactful career. This isn't charity, Miss Beaumont, Blackwell clarified, noticing her slightly bewildered expression. It's an investment. an investment in exceptional talent, in a mind that deserves to be nurtured and challenged. The hospital has already enthusiastically approved your request for a part-time position during your studies, a full-time position upon graduation. They're rather eager to have your expertise officially recognized and properly compensated. Angela's fingers traced the edges of the documents, the crisp paper feeling almost unreal beneath her touch. Dreams she had carefully packed away years ago, relegating them to the realm of impossible fantasies, suddenly felt tangible again, within her grasp. "My children," she began hesitantly, the practical considerations weighing heavily on her mind. "The stipend generously covers all childcare expenses," Blackwell assured her, anticipating her concerns. "All practical obstacles have been addressed, carefully considered, and fully resolved. The only remaining question, Miss Beaumont, is, are you ready to reclaim your interrupted path, to seize the opportunity that you so richly deserve?" That evening, Angela sat down with her children, carefully explaining how their lives were about to change dramatically, how the future held possibilities they had never dared to imagine. Their eyes widened with pride and excitement as she recounted the full story, the details she had previously minimized and downplayed, the incredible series of events that had led to this pivotal moment. "You saved a billionaire, Mom?" her son asked incredulously, struggling to fully comprehend the magnitude of her accomplishment. "I used knowledge I never stopped building, knowledge that remained dormant but never faded," she corrected gently, wanting to instill in them the importance of lifelong learning. "And now, because of that, we have a new and exciting chapter ahead of us." 2 weeks later, Angela entered the hallowed halls of Johns Hopkins, not through the service entrances, relegated to the invisible ranks of support staff, but through the grand main doors alongside her fellow students. She proudly carried her student ID in hand, ready for her morning classes, and her hospital badge for her afternoon toxicology internship, a symbol of her dual role and her remarkable journey. Dr. Reynolds nodded stiffly when they passed in the hallways, a subtle shift in demeanor evident, professional courtesy replacing the previous dismissive attitude. Dr. Park had become a genuine friend and advocate, helping her navigate the complex transition from support staff to specialist in training, offering guidance and support. "The department already has several challenging cases they want your perspective on. Your unique insights could prove invaluable," he mentioned casually during lunch. "Your observational skills are unlike anything they've ever seen. Your ability to see patterns others miss is truly remarkable." In quiet moments, stolen between classes and lab work, Angela sometimes remembered pushing her cleaning cart down those same floors, virtually invisible to the people who now actively sought her insights and valued her opinions. The memory brought neither bitterness nor resentment, only a deep sense of gratitude for the journey, for the perfect, impossible arc that had brought her to this extraordinary place. On her first day assisting with a particularly difficult toxicology case, Angela stood in the state-of-the-art laboratory, surrounded by sophisticated equipment she had once only cleaned, now hers to command and utilize. The crisp white coat felt foreign yet strangely familiar, a symbol of a dream deferred, but ultimately not denied. She picked up the patient file and began her methodical analysis, bringing to bear both her rigorous scientific training and the unique, invaluable perspective of someone who had learned to see what others overlooked, to question assumptions, and to challenge conventional wisdom. Someone who understood, deep in her bones, that wisdom could be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the most valuable insights came from those society had trained itself not to see, to dismiss, or to ignore. The transition wasn't entirely seamless. Some medical staff still carried vestiges of old habits and ingrained hierarchies in their interactions, remnants of the previous system. Occasionally, someone would express surprise, sometimes veiled, sometimes overt, at finding her in the toxicology lab rather than cleaning it, a subtle reminder of her former role. Angela met these moments with quiet dignity and unwavering professionalism, letting her work speak for itself, allowing her competence and dedication to gradually erode any lingering prejudices. Her first semester back in formal education brought both exhilarating challenges and moments of frustrating difficulty. Academic language and theoretical frameworks, once familiar, returned slowly, requiring diligent effort to rebuild and reinforce. Yet her years of practical experience provided invaluable insights that no textbook could ever teach, a real-world understanding that enriched her academic pursuits. "You approach problems differently, Miss Beaumont," her advanced chemical analysis professor observed, his brow furrowed in thought. "You seem to see the potential applications of a theory before you even fully grasp the underlying principles." "I learned in reverse order, Professor," Angela explained with a smile. "Practice before principle, hands-on experience before abstract theory. It gives me a different lens through which to view the world." The Blackwell Foundation expanded beyond Angela's initial scholarship, identifying other talented individuals whose educational paths had been interrupted by circumstance, providing them with the resources and support they needed to pursue their dreams. When interviewed about his burgeoning philanthropic endeavors, Blackwell credited Angela's remarkable story as the catalyst, the spark that ignited his passion for unlocking hidden potential. "Intelligence exists everywhere, not just in credentialed spaces, not just within the walls of universities," he told Business Week, his voice filled with conviction. "Ms. Beaumont saved my life because she maintained her knowledge, nurtured her intellect, even without formal recognition or external validation. How many others like her exist, toiling in obscurity, their talents invisible to systems that only value official credentials and traditional pathways?" 6 months after the life-altering diagnosis that had set everything in motion, Angela was invited to present at a prestigious hospital conference on innovative diagnostic approaches, a remarkable honor. She stood at the podium, addressing a room full of doctors and specialists who had once walked past her without a second glance, unaware of her existence. "Observation doesn't require credentials," she began, her voice clear and confident. "Sometimes, the most valuable insights come from unexpected sources, from people trained to be invisible, who see what others overlook precisely because they move through spaces differently, unburdened by preconceptions and biases." Dr. Reynolds sat in the audience, his expression a complex mixture of respect, admiration, and a lingering discomfort at the hierarchical disruption her story represented, at the challenge to the established order. Yet, he nodded thoughtfully at her key points, professional enough to acknowledge the undeniable truth in her words. After the presentation, a young hospital worker, a transporter who moved patients between departments, approached Angela hesitantly, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "I've been taking night classes in nursing," she confided in a low voice, "but nobody here knows about it. They just see the uniform, they only see my current role." Angela recognized her younger self in the woman's expression, the burning hunger for knowledge, the frustrating feeling of invisibility, the unwavering determination to overcome seemingly insurmountable barriers. "Keep learning," Angela advised, her voice filled with encouragement. "Knowledge belongs to those who pursue it relentlessly, regardless of their title or their perceived limitations. And remember, being underestimated can be a powerful advantage. It allows you to see things others miss, to gather insights that are hidden from the privileged and the powerful." The woman nodded, her posture straightening, a newfound sense of confidence radiating from her. One small conversation, one shared story, perhaps the beginning of another barrier broken, another path paved for someone else to follow. At home that evening, Angela helped Tasha with her science homework, patiently explaining complex concepts and encouraging her to persevere through challenging problems. The kitchen table that once held cleaning schedules, household budgets, and endless calculations to make ends meet now featured overflowing textbooks, meticulously prepared laboratory reports, and carefully crafted college applications, symbols of a brighter future. Tasha's grades had improved dramatically, fueled by her mother's inspiring example, driven by the desire to emulate her resilience and her unwavering pursuit of knowledge. "Mom," Tasha asked thoughtfully, pausing in her studies, "do you ever wish things had happened differently, that you hadn't had to drop out of school and put your dreams on hold?" Angela considered the question carefully, reflecting on the twists and turns of her life, the unexpected detours and the hard-won lessons. "My path wasn't what I originally planned, but it taught me things I couldn't have learned any other way," she replied honestly. How to observe with unwavering attention, how to persist in the face of adversity, how to find worth and value in myself even when others didn't see it. It made me who I am. She smiled at her daughter, her eyes filled with love and pride. The journey matters just as much as the destination. Every experience shapes us, molds us, and prepares us for what lies ahead. 1 year after saving Victor Blackwell's life, Angela attended a formal ceremony establishing the Beaumont Scholarship for Scientific Excellence, a permanent endowment specifically designed to support individuals returning to scientific education after career interruptions and unforeseen circumstances. The first 5 recipients included a former delivery driver with a passion for physics, a retail worker with a keen interest in biology, and a landscaper with a hidden talent for chemistry, all with demonstrated scientific aptitude and interrupted educational journeys. Ms. Beaumont exemplifies what we often forget in our credential-focused society, Blackwell said during the moving ceremony, his voice echoing with sincerity. That brilliance exists everywhere, in all walks of life, often unseen and undervalued because we're trained to look only in the expected places, to recognize talent only in those who fit the prescribed mold. As Angela stood to acknowledge the enthusiastic applause of the audience, she saw Dr. Reynolds among the attendees, a testament to the profound impact she had made on the entire hospital community. Their eyes met briefly, a mutual recognition of how completely the world had changed between them, a silent acknowledgement of the shifting power dynamics and the humbling lessons learned. He nodded respectfully, a gesture that encompassed both her remarkable triumph and his own personal growth, his willingness to embrace a new perspective. Later, while touring the state-of-the-art research facility funded by Blackwell's Foundation, Angela paused before a simple yet powerful plaque in the entrance hall. It bore a single, carefully chosen quote, encapsulating the Foundation's mission and Angela's enduring legacy. Intelligence is evenly distributed. Opportunity is not. The Foundation had transformed her individual victory into systemic change, creating tangible pathways for others whose talents remained hidden behind uniforms, job titles, and societal expectations. In the toxicology laboratory, where she now worked part-time while diligently completing her degree, Angela had established a well-deserved reputation for solving complex cases that others couldn't crack, for unraveling medical mysteries that had stumped even the most experienced specialists. Her colleagues attributed this success to her exceptional chemical knowledge and her meticulous attention to detail, but Angela understood the deeper truth, the source of her unique abilities. Her years of invisibility, her time spent moving through the world unseen and undervalued, had trained her to see patterns others missed, to question assumptions others accepted without hesitation, to notice subtle details others overlooked completely. What had once been her burden, her source of frustration and resentment, had ultimately become her greatest strength, her superpower. 2 years after the life-altering diagnosis that had changed everything, Angela stood proudly in her graduation gown, a symbol of her hard-won achievement, her children beaming with pride and love from the audience. At 40 years old, she was older than the typical graduate, her path unconventional, her journey marked by detours and obstacles that most hadn't faced. Yet as she received her diploma, finally completing the educational circle begun decades earlier, Angela felt no regret for the winding path, for the challenges she had overcome. Each experience, even the years of invisibility, of dismissal, of cleaning floors while carrying unused knowledge, had shaped her unique perspective, honed her skills, and prepared her for this triumphant moment. As she joined her children after the ceremony, Tasha hugged her fiercely, her eyes shining with admiration. "I'm so incredibly proud of you, Mom. Remember this?" Angela told her children, her voice filled with emotion. "Your worth isn't determined by how others see you, by their fleeting perceptions or their preconceived notions. It exists independently, within you, waiting for the right moment to shine, waiting for you to unleash your full potential." That evening, at a small but heartfelt celebration dinner, Dr. Park raised a toast to Angela Beaumont, who had taught an entire hospital that wisdom could be found in unexpected places, that talent could emerge from unlikely sources. Angela smiled, reflecting on her extraordinary journey from invisible to essential, from dismissed to respected, from overlooked to celebrated. The status reversal felt complete, Yet she retained the valuable perspective gained from years spent moving through the world unseen, a perspective that would continue to inform her work and guide her actions. In her new office at Johns Hopkins, once merely a building she cleaned, now her professional home, Angela kept a small framed photo of herself in her former uniform, not as a bitter reminder of past dismissal or as a symbol of lingering resentment, but as an acknowledgement of the unique strength and resilience she had gained through that experience, a constant reminder of the power of perspective. Her phone rang, a consulting request from another hospital facing a mysterious poisoning case, a situation eerily similar to the one that had launched her on this extraordinary journey. Angela picked up the phone, ready to apply both her formal training and her hard-won perspective, her scientific knowledge and her intuitive understanding of human nature. Her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had proven her worth beyond all doubt, who had defied expectations and shattered barriers. "This is Dr. Beaumont," she answered, her voice calm and reassuring. "How can I help you?" The title felt right, earned through unconventional pathways and unwavering determination, but no less valid for the arduous journey taken. And as she listened attentively to the case details, her mind already racing, Angela recognized subtle patterns and hidden possibilities that others might easily miss, her mind deftly connecting dots that remained invisible to those who had never learned to see from the shadows, to those who had never experienced the power of being underestimated. If this inspiring story of hidden brilliance and ultimate justice resonated with you, there's plenty more where it came from. Beat Stories brings you powerful narratives where underdogs rise through sheer talent, unwavering determination, and unyielding resilience. Every week, we deliver compelling tales of status flips, moral victories, and the triumphant recognition of overlooked genius. Just like Angela's transformative journey from invisible housekeeper to respected toxicologist, we bring you stories that celebrate the human spirit. Hit that subscribe button to never miss our weekly uploads of meticulously crafted stories that capture those perfect moments when someone underestimated finally gets their due recognition, finally receives the validation they so richly deserve.